Hello and welcome to the Mr. Rolling podcast. As not so usual, my name is Jacob Staten, and as not so usual, I'm joined by JJ Armstrong. JJ, you've just come back from 4 weeks in Thailand. You've been back for a week now. How are you feeling? Are you happy to be back? Are you happy to be back on the podcast? How many different tattoos did you have from unlicensed tattoo vendors?
We're officially back. It's been a long time. People will be forgetting what the Miss Rolling podcast is. We're back. You're welcome, everybody. I don't know when the last one we actually did was. It was actually a long time before I went away, which was a month ago. So maybe it's been 2 months since we've done a podcast, but I'm very well refreshed after a long trip, a long travel, a great travel. And Nottingham Forest have just beaten Man United at Old Trafford to go 5th in the Premier League table. Give me a paw for that, Ruby. Stitch me up.
To those watching,
for that. Yeah, they were talking.
To those watching, I was just giggling because JJ said he had a great trip, but I'm going to ask JJ to tell everyone about his trip home.
Didn't have a great trip home. We missed the flight. Then I had to get on an 11-hour flight to Istanbul, wait in the airport for a while, then get another flight to Manchester. Then the M62 was closed. So it took me about 2 days to get home, which was horrendous. But I'm here. We're back. The podcast is finally back. As I've just said, Nottingham Forest beat Man United, 5th in the table. High five. Yes.
Well, JJ, I will drink to that. So
cheers. And this is just a little shout out to my partner's father, who is a Man United fan over in Belfast. This is his beer. We've just beat his team. I'm drinking his beer. Cheers. How are you, Jacob? How are you doing?
I am top of the shop. Thank you very much, mate. Nothing much has changed with me, apart from the fact it's now cold and windy and wet. And I got my buddy back, which is all important because there's been a 7-hour delay between us.
It has.
It's been difficult crippling, mate. Crippling is what I'd use. Crippling.
Yeah. Before we get into the meat and bones of beating Man United away at Old Trafford to go 5th in the Premier League, I don't know if you've heard that bit. We're just, since it's been a while since we've done a podcast, just going to sum up our general thoughts prior to this game of how we're finding this season so far. And for me, I just want to say that I picked a fantastic time to go and not be able to watch much football because of the time difference, because it was the Newcastle game, the Arsenal game that I'd largely missed, and there were pants, and then there was an international break. So bookmarked nicely. I think it was West Ham that we beat, came back, saw us beat Ipswich, now seen us beat Man United. A great time. So this is currently the season of dreams. Jacob, how are you finding it since we last spoke to everybody?
I think when we last spoke, there was talks of we should have been top because we should have won the 2 home games against Bournemouth and Wolves. I think we've had a I wouldn't quite say a short, sharp shock, but we've had a return to reality. And that reality is that some kind of Europe is on me. But it's still going to be a fantastic season because it still is a fantastic season. We're set in the 7th of December, and where are we, JJ?
We're 5th in the table after beating Man United at Old Trafford. Incredible, which is just insane. It has, I mean, a good season for me. I predicted at the start would be 17th, and whatever happens from here, I do unfortunately think the expectations have been ignited with this fantastic start. So I think there will be a few people slightly deflated and disappointed if we don't get Europe. However, I'm just seeing this as let's enjoy the ride for now. You know, the fact is Europe or any form of European dream or chasing is on. That's a fact as it stands right now. You can't deny that it is. And we've got an owner that will back us in January. So to be in this position now and not look over our shoulder or worry about the threat of relegation is all I ever really wanted. So it completely exceeds anything I could have hoped for.
I think, sorry, JJ, just to jump in on that, I think that's a particularly good point around an owner that will back us, because if we can, so we've got Villa at home on Saturday, Brentford away the following Saturday, Spurs at home on Boxing Day, and then Everton away just before New Year's. If we can get 2 wins in that, and we're still top 6, top 7, he is going to put his hand in his pocket. He is going to see an opportunity to get European football for not only one club that he owns, but for two. That is an unbelievable opportunity that all the evidence we have points to he will go out there and back us.
Absolutely. And, there's been elements where I've been critical of the ownership. Many people have. There's been elements where we've praised the ownership. It's a tough balance. But one thing you can never fault them on is their willingness to back us, put the hand in the pocket when we need it. So it is a really exciting time. We're not going to be out of touch at the end of those fixtures. Even if we lost every single one of those games, I still think we'll be in or around top half. So it's not terminal. We can still, if we were to invest wisely, still a chance to push on. However, we're looking at these fixtures now. I mean, Villa, you look at as a tough fixture. They've been a bit wobbly. They've got Europe, congestion. Brentford at home are incredible this season. They're European form themselves. So that'll be a difficult fixture. People will eye that up as a must win or an easy win for us. Not the case. Look at the way they've been playing this season. Look at their home form. They're very, very good. And they beat Newcastle today, I think it was.
Yeah, 4-2.
Spurs, but also, again, they are Brentford. On paper, I don't think they're great and they're beatable. Spurs, who knows what you're going to get. Same as Man United, which we're going to discuss very shortly. We don't know what team's going to show up. They're capable of thrashing City. They're capable of, who was it? Was it Ipswich they drew against? And they lost against Bournemouth.
Lost to Ipswich, didn't they?
Lost to Ipswich.
Yeah.
This, who knows? And then Everton again, could be anything. It could be the 4-0 that they got battered by Man United. It could be the Everton team that won 4-0 the other day. So it's just, all in all, it's a very exciting time to be a Forest fan. And Jacob, the latest excitement has just happened as we're recording this at 8 o'clock. We've just finished watching what? Tell me again. Let's say the words one more time.
We've just gone to Old Trafford, who have new manager Bounce, and kind of just killed them off with a cheeky 3-2 victory and moved fifth in the table, which, if we do get the coefficient, which we should get the coefficient for the new Champions League rules, would mean a Champions League spot next season.
Wow.
Dare to dream.
So, I mean, I didn't think about that. So does that mean 6th is Europa, 7th conference? Is that how it works?
Like 6th and 7th would be Europa, I think, and then 8th would be conference. I think. And then if we were to have somebody win the Europa from England, I don't know what that does to everything as well. I don't know if that pushes another Champions League spot back.
I'll tell you what, we'll finish 17th. We'll still get Champions League by the sound of it. Bloody hell.
It's almost like they're ruining it, isn't it?
I mean, the more chance we've got, the fact that we're even dreaming about this in December is incredible. The fact that we've practically got enough points to stay up at this point is insane. So what we'll do is we'll talk about Man U and we'll dive into the starting 11. So Williams, Hudson-Odoi and Anderson came back in. Jacob, for who?
For Alex Moreno, Anthony Elanga and Nico Dominguez. We can only presume that the Alex Moreno one was because he was injured, because he wasn't in the squad full stop, and I think he's a wonderful left back. So that can only be for an injury. Elanga, I'm not surprised at in the slightest, and Anderson for Dominguez, I'm not surprised at in the slightest. I don't know if you are.
No, I think Anderson certainly needed to return to the team. He is exceptional, provides a really good balance. Elanga's not been it for me at the minute, and I think Hudson-Odoi you could say similar to. So for me, it's either one of those at the minute. I think whatever one he went for is the right decision. Because I think Jota, whilst he is still very rough, I've just noticed that Ruby's still here. Whilst Jota is still very rough, he still gives you a bit of something, and he's always trying, and you can see it visibly. And then Dominguez, I think probably slightly harsh on him. I think he's put in a really good shift in recent games. You could have argued that maybe Yates was the one to be the fall guy after people hated him earlier this week for his what you could call a dive against Doku that cost us a goal, but there was other people involved with that move that could have done better. So all in all, I think the starting 11 I was completely fine with it. I think other than Moreno, I'd have liked to have seen him from the start, but wasn't possible. So therefore, they've made the right decision. Nico Williams is more than capable. He did prove himself to be capable. And I think we're at a stage now where we can chop and change and rotate. And what is incredible is the squad isn't really impacted by it. The strength isn't really impacted by it. We've got people on the bench that can now feel aggrieved not to be on, or we can look at it and go, there's quality on the bench that is unlucky not to be on the pitch, or there's quality on the bench that can come on to, see the game through. So it shows what great work we've done so quickly, because the squad was a mess. We don't need to remind anyone how bad it was when we came up, but we've done really, really good work over a very, very quick amount of time to get the chaos out of the way, stay up, settle the squad, but bring in real good quality to replace them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want to 2 points off those 3 changes, but one would be around Nico Williams sticking to left back. I think it's a really good choice to keep Iron at right back, so that although there's a change at full back, it's only one change. It's a like for like, left back for left back, rather than if Iron goes to left back, although we can play there and can play there well, you're changing 2 of the back 4, even though only one person has changed. It would just feel a bit unnecessary to me, especially as Nico Williams is pretty decent at left back anyway. And you made a comment earlier about Anderson adding lots of balance into the team, and I think that's exactly why Dominguez was left out. We were known as a podcast of Yaters originally, as in Ryan Yates haters, and we've probably swayed too far around the other way between us. But he gets picked by every single manager that he plays for. He's now the club captain. He ain't gonna miss it. We'd have to sign a hell of a central midfielder for him to get dropped now, I think. I think today, particularly in the second half, he was at his kind of Ryan Yatesy best. Just he affects the game in so many different ways without even having the ball. And I think his ball playing. I don't know if it's necessarily, I can say he's getting better. I think he's probably getting smarter around what he can and can't do, and recognizing that. But I think Anderson back in adds great balance. Keeping Williams at left back was a great idea.
Yeah, just on Yates, I think potentially the answer to him not starting is injured in Danilo. I know they're very different profiles of players, but I think I've not seen enough from Sangare to replace Yates. Dominguez is very, very good, but personally, I would still choose Yates over him. And I think sort of Danilo's probably the only one that I would, if he was fully fit, I'd put in ahead of him. But then it obviously changes the balance of the team. But Yates is just smarter, like you say. Like, I think he knows his limitations and plays to them well, and he gets a lot of stick. He always will. We've been there. People are still there. One, bad game or one bad thing, it sort of fires up again and it's bad again. But I think you can notice when he's not in the side. I think he's a really important cog for me. And people can disagree. That is fine. That's just my opinion. So yeah, very pleased with the starting 11, Jacob, and almost instantly, to my surprise, we went 1-0 up from a corner.
Absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal header from Milinkovic. What United are doing, I can only presume because it's so early, they're just not switched on yet. But great ball in, great header, past the keeper before he even has a look at it. And I don't think there's much more you can say, is there? It was just a well-timed, great ball, good header. 1-0.
Yeah.
Up them Reds.
The Man United are very fragile from corners. We've been there. It's been us.
Vietnam flashbacks.
So it's nice to be on the other side of it. I think we've not really spoke about it this season because we've not done many podcasts, but we seem to have eradicated the fragility of set pieces against us. And it's lovely to be on the other side of it because I'm not seeing too many Forest set piece goals in recent years. And I think Milinkovic certainly deserved it. He's been an incredible player. Potentially Premier League signing of the season for me, which very biased, I think, but he is just exceptional. And him and Murillo have elevated our back four and our team to a new level. I think that centre-back pairing, the two of them, is a European chasing side quality. So very well deserved for him. Great header, terrible defending, 1-0 up, almost couldn't believe what I was seeing. But from then on, it wasn't quite as easy, was it? It was largely United. They were peppering us for a while, and it wasn't too long before they eventually capitalised on it.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a really nice ball in to Garnacho, I think it was, wasn't it? And I think Sells actually. So the commentator really annoyed because he said that he spilled it. He didn't spill it. He closed Garnacho down really well. It's almost one of those ones where he either needed to get to him quicker and smother it and take it, or hang back and let him shoot and be able to parry it away. But I still think he does really well to close him down, and he's just unlucky that the ball's just bounced into Højlund's path and he's tapped it in the back of the net. And I don't like saying this, but I kind of watched that goal and I kind of went, really good ball in, decent bit of keeping, very unlucky, and a poacher in a poacher's place to tap in the back of the net. We've been on the front end a few of those this season, so I was not happy, shall we say, but I was more than comfortable taking that one on the chin without anyone really to blame.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was really anyone to blame. It was a good goal. I think Sells did very well. I think on another day that spills out and Højlund hasn't got his positioning right, hasn't made the run alongside the ball, or it hits another part of his shoulder, it hits the bone and it goes off the other side. On another day that is just a great save. But the ball through made the difference. It created the opportunity, and Højlund is a poacher's finish. It's Chris Wood special. You've got to be there, right place, right time, and he was. And I wasn't feeling too confident after that equaliser because it felt one-way traffic. It felt like we'd almost stopped playing once we'd scored. We were giving them too much respect, I think. So a good goal. I can't really be too angry about it, but there was no real identity at this point for me.
No, I mean, you could almost say, and I'm not just saying this to say something countering, but you could almost say that was almost our style. Our style was no style. We were just kind of swallowing the pressure and trying to counter-attack. I think we were still counter-attacking pretty well, even though it was kind of few and far between. Obviously, Jota Silva hit the crossbar, didn't he, from a fairly decent set-piece routine. Somebody hit the post for them. Was it Bruno Fernandes? Yeah. It was a deflection off the wall, wasn't it, from a free kick? It looked like a great free kick at first, which I suppose it was, but it takes a nod off the wall and then Seltz actually tips onto the bar, which was a fantastic save, which the cameras only picked up because Seltz was celebrating afterwards, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know it was a save. I just thought it was a really good free kick.
Yeah, it actually takes a nod. Somebody nods it back off the wall like that, skims off the head, which lifts it up, and then Seltz tips it onto the bar.
Yeah, I think that was our probably game plan. Soak up pressure, hit them on the counter where we can. I think probably the thing that made it feel slightly worse in the first half, some of our key players on the transition on the counter didn't really feel like they were there. Jota Silva was visible. He was always there. He was always, biting at the ankles. He was always trying to make things happen. Murillo possibly could have scored from another set piece when Jota recycled it back. Jota was busy. He was active, which you love to see because it's always nice to see something visibly happening. Whereas Gibbs-white, for me, I feel was slightly anonymous in that first half. I think he's been largely anonymous since he came back from his original England call. Anderson has, in mostly every game, proven himself to be a really important key player and is visible, whereas Gibbs-white for that first half for me wasn't. Hudson-Odoi is the same for me as well. I think last few weeks, he's not quite been the Hudson-Odoi special we need, and I don't know if it's confidence or not. We're going to talk about Gibbs-white. Obviously, the goal he scored, maybe that's the kickstart of something. But Hudson-Odoi to me looks like he needs a bit of confidence. So that first half, whilst it might have been our style, I think the plays in transition not quite being as clear to see as you'd hope meant that it felt more of sustained United attack constantly rather than us giving them something. Yeah. And the thing is, we were soaking up the pressure well. They were putting some really good crosses in, I think. Some quality crosses, but we dealt with it well, which is pleasing to see because I think we would have crumbled under that amount of pressure back in the day. at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
But I think for the first half, United were sort of probably, for me, the team on the up. I messaged you about Gibbs-white. I sort of said he feels a bit anonymous, and you said you think he's going to come alive in the second half. So I'll let you take it from here, Jacob. You were right. What happened?
He came alive in the second half, my mate. He bore down on goal and smashed the ball towards Onana's goal, and Onana went for a hot dog instead of saving the ball. I will caveat by saying that I don't think Gibbs-white did anything particularly special on the shot. I think it's just Onana's a completely and utterly rubbish goalkeeper who should not be in goal for Manchester United or another Premier League team, in my opinion. On his day, kind of close-range shot stopper, yeah, pretty good. But literally every other aspect of being a goalkeeper in the modern game, he is atrocious at. And yeah, flies into the back of the net and off they go in front of the away fans celebrating. It was quite a start to the second half, and I don't, is that the game plan? Lure them in the first half, come out of the first half on a level pegging? It almost feels a bit like the Fulham game when the opposite happened in the second half of the Fulham game. We come out, they get a penalty, and then your game plan is thrown away. You've wasted 45 minutes, but it feels like we spent 45 minutes sucking them in to just spit them out and go, yeah, we're ahead.
I mean, that's what we did against Liverpool.
Yep.
Sustained the pressure for however long, remained in the game, made the substitutions, and got the win. But the two players that were key in this goal, three. One of them's Onana, but the two Forest players that were key in this goal were Hudson-Odoi and Gibbs-white, who I'd previously said, passengers in that first half, a bit anonymous. So I think Hudson-Odoi did really well. He poached on, I think, United player let the ball go. Yep. Capitalised really quickly, pass it on to Gibbs-white, and whilst Gibbs-white did not do anything special, what he did do was have a go. And I think that's something that we've lacked for so long, is someone just trying. Onana, it's happened so many times where he's fluffed his lines or he's done something silly.
Yeah.
On his day, he can be a class keeper. You watch one game for United and you think, this is why he's playing for Man United. He's incredible. But I've seen far too many games of him where he's just been shocking, and you think, how on earth is this a starting keeper for Man United? He's outright cost them this game. It's happened so many times. So I almost hope we took more shots at him, because he's got it in him. And you've got a saying where, I can't remember what it is, but you're not in the draw if you don't take a shot. Well, it's not the saying, but you know what I mean. He had a go, and he won the prize.
If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win the raffle, my mate.
That's the one. And he brought a ticket, and the person running the raffle, thankfully, was looking the opposite way, and he took the prize anyway. Yeah. So, I mean, there was a bit of curve, a bit of swerve on the ball, if you're being very, very generous. But I think the keeper should be saving that all day. So, a gift, but we had to, pick up the ball. We had to move the ball on. We had to take the shot for it to happen. And I mentioned Gibbs-white again earlier. The important thing for me is he's just got a goal at Old Trafford. He looks like he's been lacking confidence. He's not been great last few weeks. I really hope that kick starts him, and I hope Hudson-Odoi can get a goal soon as well, and that can sort of lift him, because him, Elanga, Elanga and Gibbs-white, not been too impressive last few weeks, and if they start firing again, then we're a much better team for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then 7 minutes later, he decides to whip in a wonderful cross, and Chris Woods nods it past Onana for another howler. And I mean, maybe not necessarily a howler, just a very accurate header towards the back post, and they're all confused about what they're doing, and in it goes.
This one is bizarre for me. I think it's Onana wasn't great with it, and Martinez just left it. I almost didn't celebrate it, because it didn't feel like it went in. It was just like it shouldn't have got in. It's a fantastic looping header, but gets mopped up every day of the week. Sorry, especially by a team like Man United. So I don't know. That one really surprised me. I didn't celebrate. I was more bemused. I was almost thinking, referee must have blown, or he must have been offside or something to make them stop. But obviously, when the goal stood, I was in heaven. Chris Wood now has become Forest's leading goal scorer in the Prem. Obviously, a fairly small sample size, but nonetheless, I wouldn't. If someone said that to me when he signed and he had those first 2 games where he was just not great, I wouldn't have predicted it.
Yeah.
What have your thoughts been on Chris Wood this season, Jacob?
This season, I watch him play, and I still don't think he's a very good footballer, if that makes sense. No. In the, I don't really think he links up play. I don't think he particularly. I'm not saying he's bad at it, but you can't say he's like a pressing forward or anything like that. But do you know what he does? He does his job. He puts the ball in the back of the net. So it's not like way back in the day when we had the same thing, but it was Daryl Murphy who never actually put the ball in the back of the net. So I was allowed to complain. I just let the man do his business, and we'll ride that gravy train until it stops, because we don't know when it could stop. But if you look at Chris Wood's actual record in the Premier League, I think the only times he's not got double figures was when he went to Newcastle and the season that he came on loan to us in the January. So when he joined Newcastle in the January day, and then the following January he came to us. So it's only those 2 seasons where he's moved in the January. So he's not got double figures in the Premier League. So the record speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, 15 million at the time. The fee was triggered after about
3 games.
Silly. And I remember just thinking, this is why we are struggling, because that business is ridiculous. Yeah. That 15 million looks very good value right now.
I would love to get some screenshots of our group chat when that 15 million fee was triggered.
I was astounded. I just thought, we had John Joe Shelby, we had him from Newcastle 4. Mm-hmm. They must have been laughing at us. Yeah. But, thankfully, proved to be completely wrong. And Chris Wood is completely used, in my opinion. But he's a striker that's he's got so much confidence right now, and you can tell, you can see it. We talk about gibbs-white, hudson-odoi needed confidence. Chris Wood is not lacking it. Because, you'll remind me, but there was a goal he scored not too long back where he took it on the turn, didn't even look at the goal, took a shot and it went in. It was Leicester. City ground, I'm sure. Leicester, okay. That's a striker in confidence.
The penalty, Crystal Palace goal. Who shoots the one where
yes.
Yeah, the weird volley that flew past.
The penalty took the other week, smash it straight down the middle, didn't even think about it. He's a striker that's in confidence. It has a vein of confidence that is trying these things. And we are, before the season, we were all saying we need to buy a striker. Tyrone might come back from injury. How long can Chris Wood sort of hold us up? You know what I mean? And now we're looking at it and almost be like, if we get a striker in January or in the summer, they're not going to start ahead of Chris Wood as it stands. So we now need to look for the successor to Chris Wood for when he's sort of moved on, not a direct, we need them right now. Taiwo Onyi had not had a look in this season, which, when Taiwo scored that goal against Arsenal, when he came back the other year and he was scoring against Southampton to, have those few games where he kept us up, I never would have predicted that Chris Wood would be such an important figure. So, football's a fickle game, and I'm a fickle person. I hated Chris Wood, and I love him now. He's incredible. So, appreciate him. But a fucking bizarre goal.
Yeah. Well, I saw somebody point out, didn't they, the other day about the 2 players that Forest tried to sign this summer. They were unsuccessful. It was Queven Kelleher, who turns out is the best goalkeeper in the world, and Omar Marmoush, who's scored 13 goals in 13 games so far for Eintracht Frankfurt. So, whatever you're doing, lads, keep it up, but actually just try and get him over the line. Yeah,
I really wanted Kelleher. I think we've completely missed that boat now. Obviously, he's proven himself that he can be Liverpool number 1.
Yeah, I think. Well, the interesting thing about that for me was actually that they've actually signed that Mamardashvili, haven't they, from Valencia, the Georgian goalkeeper. So, what their actual plan is there, because that seems he's a really good keeper as well. So, what their actual plan is, I have no idea.
Yeah, well, I think it was to move Kelleher on. That's really difficult to say.
He had to struggle with his first name, not his last name.
Is it Quever?
Queven.
Queevin.
Queever's the female version.
We've missed that boat, but Sells has been incredible. Again, another same as Wood. We needed to replace this. It's a weak thing. Sells have done great. We needed to replace Wood and Taiwo. We need a striker that can stay fit, that can score goals. Chris Wood's done great. We've been really lucky with that. So yeah, but like you say, the recruitment, what they're looking at, evidently they're doing something right. These players that we haven't got, the players that we have got, Milenkovic, Hudson-Odoi,
Smashed
Jota Silva, Ramon Sousa when he comes on looks good. Murillo, obviously, from the previous season. Moreno on loan. They've done some really good work. And then now you look at the people we haven't got. It makes me excited for January. It really does. Anyway, after 3-1, we thought, this is it. We can sit comfortably and watch Forest roll home. Didn't happen. Talk to me, Jacob.
No, again, it's similar to the first goal. I think you even sent me the kind of emoji. It's a wonderful finish by the rat man, Bruno Fernandes. Should we have closed him down? Should he have been on his own? Probably not. But it's just a wonderful finish, isn't it? I think he was just outside the box, wasn't he? High into the left corner, and sometimes you just kind of have to hold your hands up and say, fair play. But what I did like after that goal was our reaction. They almost kind of doubled down on how hard they worked, and I know we both made comments around when Morato came on and we went to the back three with making it a 5.
Around have we done it for Jota?
Around have we done it too early? Are we inviting pressure on? Which is something I heard a lot of in the stands at the Ipswich game. But like today, I can't say anything other than it actually worked perfectly. Everybody carried on working. He got how they lined up top right, so that they kept on counter attacking and all that kind of thing. So it just, after that goal, it almost sharpened our focus type thing. And here we sit with 3 points.
Yeah. The Morato coming on thing, I did think was too early. Someone will have to check the stat. I think this is right. But Morato has never come on and Forest lost a game.
Yeah, Man City on Wednesday.
And did he come on?
Or did he start?
I'm
looking.
We're going to have to check that.
Come back to me.
There was some silly stat that him playing meant we haven't.
Yeah, he came on at half-time. On Wednesday.
Damn it. Okay, so
I think before that you were
before that. Okay, damn it, bloody City. So before that, anyway. So Morato, anyway, is such it's a player that I forget about every time until I see him about to come onto the pitch. I go, oh yeah, that guy, and you almost feel a sense of, well, I think when it's not this early, you feel a sense of 3 points in a bag. This is us seeing it now. The game management of seeing it, getting it over the line. I think against Ipswich, it felt like we could have maybe killed the game and not brought him on, but it worked out well. So fair play to Nuno. And then it felt too early today, but again, it worked out well. So Morato has been a really sort of silent piece of the puzzle, and I think he was signed, for me, it looks like, to be the successor to Murillo. He looks like a good player. Murillo's going to go to a really big club. Oh, sorry, another big club at some point. Morato looks to be the succession waiting in the wings. Yeah. But his role this season, he's playing it perfectly. And you can't ask for much more than that. And to be put on at Old Trafford, 3-2, I think that's a tough ask. The crowd are going to be up for it. There's always the worry of added time, which we'll come on to discuss.
Yeah.
But he just does his job, and he does his job well. And the three M's at the back, the Murillo, Milenkovic, and Morato, are exceptional. They've done their job perfectly once again. And if either Murillo or Milenkovic gets injured, I don't really feel... I'd be gutted, but I'd feel confident that Morato has enough about him to step up and fill in sort of the gap. So I thought we did really well, actually. My fears of it being too early were quelled quite quickly, I think.
Yeah, I think with the benefit of hindsight, looking at those two games, I think Ipswich, who were time wasting from the first 10 minutes against us, dropping deeper against them is counterproductive because we're just sitting in our own half. Like they're not going to do anything for us to counter attack against. Whereas, again, with the benefit of hindsight, again, looking at today's game, United had a lot of the ball. I think they had at least kind of 75% possession over the game. And they're going to give us opportunities to counter-attack. But having Morata on in that settled back three with the back five, with the wing-backs who can push on, it gives us a platform to actually go and counter-attack whilst also being safe. So I think looking at those two games and looking at the two results we got and how we got them, because the game today was much less nerve-wracking towards the end than the Ipswich game. The only thing from today's game was the ludicrous amount of Fergie time, which was down to a radio not working for an assistant referee, which is can't you just use your flag, pal? But yeah,
can the referee not referee the game? No, apparently not.
I'd be very interested to see how this is a complete side note, but I'd be very interested to see how games would turn out if they couldn't actually just gas to each other throughout the game, and they actually had to, commit to something straight away.
I personally think the game would be better for it. But the 7 minutes at a time, it's worth talking about because Forest. We've had podcasts before where we say we're desperate to get something out of this game. The added time goes up and we're ineffective and useless. But Man United brought it to a whole new level.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I mean, I think the entirety of the 7 minutes was summed up by Anana's ineptitude at where to put the ball. There was you know what? Actually, I'm going to call it out. Fair play to the referee for this, because the first time he tries to put it into our half, and then he takes it back over the line, and the referee's persistence in saying, I was just a little bit surprised by the end. The referee didn't actually book him. But yeah, fair play. And it's one of the things watching now. I was like, this game's done. Yeah. The second he gets anywhere near 97, he's done with them. He's just not gonna let them get close. So it was just a really well controlled, what turned out to be the last 30 minutes from when I think Morata came on in the
67th minute. I think it came on.
So literally exactly 30 minutes. It was just a wonderfully controlled 30 minutes from there. Obviously, they had a couple of chances, but I was kind of a bit worried when he brought Rashford on. I think it must have won for me because his last couple of weeks he's been a little bit better. I've just watched him today going, you just gone, aren't you? Just, as a footballer, he's gone.
For me, I felt relieved when Maguire, Rashford and Mount came on. I personally think all three of them are done. The United fans give them too much stick, and I just think points wrapped up.
So
don't rate them at all.
We were talking about this earlier. So my question for you, and you've actually already answered it when we were talking about it earlier, but is Bruno Fernandes a world-class player? And you summarised it fantastic by saying that he's probably the best player for Manchester United, but they don't have any world-class players. And I think I'd probably put him in that bracket before world-class. I probably don't have as many brackets as everyone else, but before world-class, because he can affect games, but it's just his ridiculously lousy attitude. And you look at players like with notorious players with a bad attitude, as that could be grumpy or that kind of thing. But you look at Roy Keane, Robbie Savage, people almost like Ryan Yates. They use it as their motivation, and he just uses it to let him break him down. If he used that as motivation, he could be world class because he has the technical ability. Absolutely, look at his goal. Look at his passing the pass to Garnacho for the first goal, which led to the first goal. When you're bringing your theoretical world-class captain off for Mason Mount, when you're 3-2 down at home, when you've scored the second goal.
For people, it'd be interesting to hear people's thoughts. Some people will think he is world-class. I think the word world-class gets bandied about too much. I think people need to take a step back and think what world-class actually means. But I just don't like him. I think his attitude stinks, and he's one of those players that I think United are a better team without him. So United fans will disagree. They'll think he's, club captain, the best player. They need him. I disagree. And this is something that does relate back to Forest, because obviously Forest don't have any world-class players. Well, Murillo in a few years, I think probably will be. But what we do have is there's not one player that makes it about just themselves.
Yep.
Like Bruno Fernandes, if it's not going his way, if he's not scored, if he's not given a pass away, he shouts at other people. It's never his fault. It's always about him. You know what I mean? It feels like he wants to be the centre of attention. And when Ronaldo was there's this clash of two egos wanting to be the centre of attention and the main person for United. Forest have a great squad in that they seem to be united and together. You know, the behind-the-scenes stuff you see on Snapchat or Instagram, whatever. It seems like a really good bunch. There's people that are important, that are the catalysts to making good things happen, like Chris Wood, like Gibbs-White on his day, like hudson-odoi on his day. Ryan Yates can affect a game, but we're a collective unit. We're not one person. We're not a one-person team, which I think really bodes well for us. And I think credit to the squad, credit to Nuno for building and implementing a culture where the team are so together. That's the sort of good dressing room atmosphere that helps you get into things like Europe. So I am very excited to see where it lands. And United have been a mess for years, and they only feel like they're going to get worse because it's going to take a few years to eradicate all the issues they've got. And I'm just really thankful that we're in a transition period now where Forest are on the up and have gone to Man United, Old Trafford away, comfortably beat them, I think. I don't think it was as worrying as I thought it was during the actual game. And we deserved it. And that's, that's where we are now, 2024.
Yeah, it's a thoroughly wild time to be alive, isn't it?
Absolutely. So 3 points, Old Trafford wrapped up.
Oof.
We now sit 5th in the table. Who have we got next? Let's preview the next game. Or should I say, before we go on to it, who was your Forest man of the match or any special mentions?
I think I'd like to do that Super Lane thing where I give the whole team the man of the match because I just don't think there was a nail sticking out that could be hit first to say was man of the match. But I think special mention was Elliot Anderson, who for me cemented that second centre midfield starting spot next to Ryan Yates today because he was everywhere, and you said it earlier. He just offers that balance of attack and defence, which I just don't think you get with. And don't get me wrong, I love Dominguez. I think he has a time and a place. And I think he's got some great performances out of him, but he just doesn't have that something extra that Anderson has. And I think him alongside Yates to do all the dirty work and to win all the fouls and to do his dark arts type thing and to let Anderson really get up there and support Gibbs-White or get wide and support the wingers and keep them on the ball and that kind of thing. He really, really, really shone out for me today. So, in fact, sorry, Anderson would be my man of the match. I've just talked myself into it.
Yeah, Anderson was mine. He does his job quietly, but also doesn't because he's, again, visibly really good on the ball and he helps out the defence. He moves the transition through to help the attack. He is very good at attack. He makes some important passes. He also supports the wings. You know, he's everywhere. He's an incredible player. And I will never understand how we got him and Newcastle got Vlachodimos. It will never make any sense to me.
Do you know what? That's exactly the point I was going to make. There must be some Newcastle fans sat watching that game today going, why is he not playing for us? Like, don't get me wrong, like Sean Longstaff's a pretty good player, but I know which one I'd rather have in my starting team.
Yeah, Elliot Anderson is superior to me, and whilst he's really good at playing a combination of roles, if Gibbs-White was to leave tomorrow, he's a successor to Gibbs-White for me. In fact, with how Gibbs-White's been playing, you could make an argument and say that maybe Anderson should start in that 10 role because he's shown what he can do. So he's a really important player, and I just hope that he has cemented himself as that sort of starting midfielder now. So he was my man of the match. Incredible performance. Milenkovic was also very good. Olarena, very good. But the whole team was.
Murillo, Nico Williams was fantastic. Ryan Yates was back towards his Ryan Yates best. Mon Gibbs-White, shone in patches, particularly for the goal, obviously. Callum Hudson-Odoi, I thought, had one of his better games today. Jota Silva was always a menace. Chris Wood is a goal machine. Matt Selt's unlucky with their second goal. The first goal, couldn't do anything about second. So,
yeah. You need to be 7 out of 10 and above consistently across the board to get anything out of these places, and we certainly were. So,
well, look at Alex Ferguson. He built an entire dynasty off getting 7 players out of an 11 doing 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
and you just need that one little bit of on top, and they just all start tumbling your way, don't they?
Yeah. So, who is next? I interrupted you when you previously tried to say it.
It is Aston Villa at home, which is also a 5:30 live on Sky Sports.
Nice. What are your thoughts, Jacob?
I think there's 3 points there. I think Aston Villa have got a very good squad with a very good manager who are going places. It's a team that I'd like us to emulate in the next few seasons. I think they're a bit patchy at the minute because they've got all the Champions League and they're adjusting that kind of thing, but they still find themselves towards the top of the table. I think. JJ, correct me if I'm wrong.
They are, yes. They're in the European race with us.
They're level on points with us. They've got goal difference behind us, so they're still having a good season. If we are, if that's not the game we want, if that's not a game we want to win, we shouldn't be talking about Europe. That makes sense. So we've talked about the 4 games in December earlier, which is Villa at home, Brentford away, Spurs at home, Everton away. I think we could bookend those 4 with a win at home to Villa, a win away at Everton, and I'll take whatever we get in the 2 in the middle.
Yeah, I think that's a great summary. I think Villa are a good team. Like I say, with a good manager, with good players. Look what they did last season. Look what they are doing this season. If you think we're having a good season, as you've said, level on points. So by default, they're also having one. They probably should be doing better, but that's because of fixture congestion. But this is the marker of where we're at. We have beat Liverpool, but then we struggled against a struggling Man City, who also struggled today against Palace. We've had the Fulham, the Bournemouth, the teams that are doing quite well alongside us, the Wolves who are now struggling, who we couldn't quite get over the line with. So the Villas, the Newcastles, that's the next step. This season, we've beaten the newly promoted teams, and that's really important for us to cement our position in the league. But I think that position is cemented. If we've got any aspirations of the next step, so, past top half and go into Europe, that is your Newcastles, your Villas, your Fulhams, your Bournemouths, your Brentfords. Obviously, saying some of those teams now, you typically think you must be mental, but talking about current form as it stands in the table, the teams that are beating people. So I think it'll be a really interesting game. We did beat them last season when we were worse. And they were
that was one of our best games last season, wasn't it?
It was Stevie Cooper special. So it's winnable. All games are winnable for us, and this is one of them. So we have to target it. We have to give it our best. I wouldn't rule us out this time. Normally I would ahead of the season. I'd have said Villa probably nothing, but if you can't dream, if you can't hope after just beating Man United after the season we've had so far, what can you do? So I'm going for a Forest win personally in a prediction. I think it will be very, very tight. Going for 1-0 Forest. What are you saying, Jacob?
I'm going to stick my neck out. I'm going to say 1-0. I think we'll get an early goal. Fight bravely to fight them off and snatch a late second. Bit similar to the Leeds game all those years. The Leeds game all those years ago.
What a game that was.
What a game. I'm going to put this to you, JJ. If we can get 2 wins and a draw out of our next 4 games, we'll have the same amount of points in 4 months at the back end of 2024 as we did in all of 23-24 season.
Says everything about. That's insane progression. I think what we always say about the Premier League is we were almost trying to fast track process because it's such a marginal gains year on year. It takes years to build. Look at Brighton; it took them a while. Look at West Ham; they've dipped in and out.
Yeah.
Palace, even, these are teams that you were looking forward to replicate. Villa took them a few years. Marginal gains year on year, slight improvements to eventually be cemented as a Premier League team and hope that you can eventually do enough to shoot yourself up the table. For the third year to potentially be doing our complete, points total by the end of December is crazy.
Yeah.
We'd have done enough to stay up. We already have, I think, let's face it. But having that security wrapped up and looking upwards rather than downwards is going to do a lot of good for Forest fans' mental health, never mind the squad. Heading into a January where we know the owner's going to back us. I mean, it's really hard to... obviously, Leicester won the league all those years ago. It's a great feat. This is a sporting achievement in itself with how quickly with fast track to being a solid Premier League team and forever, long may it continue.
Yeah. I think I would just like to point out that based on last season, we actually only need 1 point to survive.
Right. I mean, Southampton look like they're going to get about 3 points between now and the end of the season and be lucky to get that. Leicester might just about have enough. I thought
they're 4 clear, aren't they?
Yeah, I thought they'd struggle more. Amazed they got rid of Cooper because he was doing a good job with a rubbish side.
There must have been something major behind the scenes for that. Narrowly losing 2-1 at home to Chelsea is not a sackable offence.
The whispers are it was Vardy that pushed him out.
Which is wild to me. I know he's a club legend. For them, he's their John Robertson. He's their Roy Keane, isn't he? He's their shining light. He is their player, isn't he? But to back him at his age, knowing that within the end of this season and the next season he's retired or leaving or that kind of thing, to back him over the manager that's doing pretty well considering what he's been given, it smacks a tin pot to me. And I know we're Cooper fans, but that smacks a tin pot to me. Very short-sighted.
Well, they're a short-sighted club. Look at the fan base; they expect results, even though they had that one great season. And they got rid of Ranieri, they got rid of Brendan Rodgers, who did very well with a side that should be nowhere near competing. So weird club. Anyway, enough about Leicester. Ipswich as well. They're going to struggle. So Wolves are struggling. So we might have done enough to stay up already, is sort of the bottom line. I was trying to get out there. But it's just lovely not to be in that conversation. It's nice to be looking upwards, to be talking about we should be beating Villa possibly. And, it's a European rival that will then, a European 6-pointer. It's just mental. So it could all fall off a cliff. We could finish 10th, we could finish 12th. Doesn't matter. So far, it's been incredible. And I think the main thing for me is that it's just going to be nice not to worry.
We are 14 points clear of relegation. If you gave us those 14 points, we'd be 4 clear of Liverpool at the top. That is levels to this game, Lynn.
Yeah. Listen, the title charge is still on. You never know.
We're 3 points. I know that we've played a game more, but we're 3 points off second. I personally think Liverpool have already won the league. I think it's done. I think fair play to you lads. I think Paddy Power will pay them out soon, as they always like to do. But
question before we'll wrap it up now because we're just talking nonsense. But Europa League. Would you be disappointed at this stage if we got Europa Conference League?
As long as there's a chance of me seeing the Poznan in real life, I don't care which one it is. I think they're both much of a much. The only difference between the two of them is that if you win one, you get Champions League football. That's the only difference between the two. There's not. You look at some of the teams that are in either one, and they could both be the same competition. Probably should both be the same competition, really, if we're thinking about it. I don't like the new formats of all the European competitions. I think it's stupid. Pulling punches. Try not to swear. They've ruined what was already a fairly decent. I mean, me personally, I put it back straight knockout like when we won it twice in a row.
I think we
after
did
getting
do that,
promoted. Yeah, and then we won the league, and then yeah. I'd put it back to like that because I think that's a true knockout competition. But I think it's silly. Anyway, to answer your question, I don't care. What about you?
Yeah, correct. I mean, it never felt like it'd be anything because we've suffered through years and years of Forest being so mediocre, rotting away in the Championship, dipping down to League One, all this stuff. If at some point in my lifetime I can go watch Forest play in a European competition, in the Conference League is completely fine with me. If I can see it happen, if I can sit there drinking a beer in the stand because Europeans football's much better, that is pinnacle for me. And if you go out in the group stages, it doesn't matter. The fact that Forest would have gone from what I've seen my entire life, what I've been used to watching Forest in Europe, and the fact that we're even able to dream about it and have these theoretical questions is insanity. So yeah, I'll take the Conference League. I'll tell you that.
Let me put a picture here, JJ. It's Thursday night. You've just spent 6 hours on an economy class airplane, drinking all the tiny beers they've got, and they ran out after 35 minutes. Yeah,
been there, done that.
You've just got to the arsehole end of Kazakhstan, and I pull out of my rucksack 2 mankinis, 2 Garibaldi red mankinis, and say Yak Shemesh, my mate. That's a happy time.
For not for everyone else. If I was in a mankini,
I like.
But I tell you what, bring it on next season. And my passport actually expires in 2025, so I need to get it sorted. It's happening. It's happening. And on that note, Jacob, take us home.
Well, if you've come back, thank you, because we don't know why, but God bless you. And if you found us for the first time, then also God bless you, Governor. Any one more thing to say, isn't there, Ruby?
You
created
that.